People think that having LGBT networks is a good thing and that they promote equality and diversity in the workplace. But what is the evidence base for this claim, really? In short, it's limited. Our research at York into lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender employee networks within the NHS is about to change this. We were generously supported by the Economic and Social Resource Council to carry out research in partnership with NHS employers, Stonewall and NA Consultancy. With 2 comprehensive data sets in-house, we are now in the position that we have a much better understanding of networks, how they operate, who is involved, what support formats are available to these networks, and most importantly, the impact of these networks for the members themselves, wider LGBT communities, and the organizations themselves. You have the project website in front of you now, I think. There it is. And please visit it for more information about the project and the research team. The website will also host a research report which will be published in April, and you can download it from there. And if you want to stay tuned to any of the activities that we are upcoming, please do use this website. So of all the organizations that we could have chosen to work with, why did we actually choose the NHS? Firstly, it's the largest employer in the UK with the biggest pool of LGBT employees. The NHS also has sufficient number of LGBT networks for us to do a comparison between organizations, which was absolutely needed for this study. Then, of course, we have the Equality Act, which many of you know. And that act places additional duties on public sector organizations to integrate equality and good relations in everyday business. As a research team, we were really interested in what role LGBT employee networks play in this, and equally, how they may have embedded these principles in their everyday operations. The project is interdisciplinary in its nature, drawing together scholars from management, economics, and social policy research unit. So it's quite a large team behind this. To build our evidence base, we have worked with 9 LGBT networks across England, Scotland, and Wales in different types of trusts. And this is quite important because we really want to capture the diversity of organizations that exist. So we were working with 1 community health service trust, 3 mental health trusts, 2 acute teaching hospital trusts, 1 service provider, an ambulance trust, and a health board too. So over the course of 2 years, what we did was this. We took part in meetings and other network activities and interviewed network members, equality, diversity, and inclusion leads in these organizations, as well as chief executive officers. In total, this ended up to be 45 observations, and we interviewed 63 individuals too. In addition to this, we conducted 2 online surveys in trusts located in England. First, we targeted HR and equality and diversity and inclusion professionals, and this was to map the environment that networks really operate in. So what is the support environment like? We also collected workforce data and information on staff networks from this survey. The second survey targeted all NHS employees, and it captured background information, trust and occupation, job characteristics, and labour market experience, as well as information about staff networks. We received over 4,000 responses to our survey, and that data set includes over 500 LGBT identifying individuals, which is approximately about 12% of the whole sample. Now, a lot of things are actually assumed about LGBT networks. They're assumed to be a great place for visibility of the community and to give it a voice. There's also the assumption that networks help to minimize discrimination and to increase inclusion. Generally speaking, LGBT networks are seen as the right thing to do and a force of good. In part, our research is testing the assumptions out. And one of the key questions that we really want to ask was, how diverse are these networks actually themselves? So what we found was quite unexpected. You see it here. LGBT plus networks are seriously lacking in diversity. Firstly, over 40% of members are gay men. Representation of bisexuals is poor, just over 5%, as is representation of trans individuals, which is indicated with the pink bars in front of you. What we effectively have is networks of cisgender gay men, lesbians, and heterosexuals, mostly allies. With figures such as these, one would expect lively conversations at network meetings on membership and representation of LGBT and individuals. This did not generally happen, and discussion on LGBT diversity and other forms of diversity were limited. Instead, concerns were raised about membership, largely in terms of the size of the networks and so forth. Concerns were also raised about the barriers for frontline staff and clinical staff to attend network meetings. Keith's account, which I'll show you in a minute, illustrates this well, and the difficulties people face when attending meetings when coverage need to be arranged. Keith mentions time pressure and the added travel time to get to meetings, bearing in mind that people engage in network activities on top of their normal job. Then he talks about the stigma and goes on to say, if you are an occupational therapist where you're not comfortable about being out, for want of a better word, and how the hell are you going to explain that you're going to a meeting? A few words on LGBT networks meetings. We attended quite a few of these. It's fair to say that meetings are completely dominated by the agenda, leaving limited space for personal sharing or discussion around identities. Typically what you get is at the start of the meeting, people will introduce themselves, but normally only by their name and professional role. As a result, people did not know who is who, and no questions were asked either. The sample agenda in front of you gives you an idea of what was covered in a single meeting, which usually lasted for 2 hours. There were a large number of agenda items to cover, minutes to record and approve, an update log, and planning of events. For me, to gain legitimacy, networks have moved from being purely about supporting LGBT identifying employees to staging events, education, and presenting the organization as inclusive. In fact, space for personal sharing and support was not factored in. In practice, this meant that people waited for the meeting to be open for any other business to discuss issues that really mattered to them. This meant that most interesting discussion took place at a point where people were ready to leave anyway. With no time left, the discussion were rushed and typically not picked up again, and when important issues were raised. So where do we go from here? I would like to put forward 2 simple suggestions. One, and this is a really crucial one, is to get to know your members. I accept the inherent conflict between encouraging sharing of identities and respecting people's need to remain private. However, it's by prioritizing identities and openly discussing them that the status quo can be challenged, and subsequently outreach program then developed. to address underrepresentation of groups, because the networks just do not know who they are. Equally, overrepresentation should be acknowledged and measures put in place to create a better balance. And then secondly, create space to share personal stories. This is important for two reasons. First, it enables people to get to know each other and to build mutual support. And then it provides vital information about the context where the network operates in. So then to return back to the opening statement, yet another meeting, are LGBT breaking the mould? The answer to that is probably not. Meetings prevent some people from attending, as we've seen. They're quite exclusionary. They also are not spaces to invite sharing of personal experiences. And I'll finish on this. Our funders have generously supported us to turn the research findings into theatre and to deliver a total of 15 performances in organisation on demand in collaboration with the production company Little Mighty. The play, which incidentally is called Any Other Business, which the will thing actually did happen, is written by Adam Robertson and directed by Chloe Christian, who you see there. It will feature at York Festival this summer, so please look out for it when the program is released. Any Other Business, it tells the story of Natasha, a lesbian cisgender media officer at a health trust, and the LGBT employee network is called Voice. As the incoming chair of Voice, Natasha faces some fundamental questions about the purpose of the network, issues around inclusion, and where the network's heading. The play really allows us to stage complex and often contradictory ideas on inclusion, voice, and visibility that are central to gaining insight into LGBT employee networks. It also helps to showcase the intangible, including the monotony and boredom associated with meetings. And we did feel that a lot as a research team, and I'm sure that those who were present too felt it too. So, what I can tell you is this, is that the play will not present answers. It will not give you answer to all the issues that LGBT networks are faced with, but it will certainly make you think. And on that note, I'll thank you.